This guy right here won $15 million, only to lose it all in under 10 years. Not because he was robbed or scammed of every cent, or because the whole thing was a dream. Instead, he fell into the trap that many lottery winners fall into, what I call the lottery to broke pipeline. I call it a pipeline because the issue isn't isolated to Michael Carroll, the 19-year-old we just mentioned, who went broke after winning $15 million. Countless other big-time lottery winners have had what should be an absolute dream turn into an awful nightmare, from lawsuits to robbings to bankruptcy to even death. But not every lottery winner faces this. Most lottery winners end up more satisfied and not broke years after winning the lottery, despite the false stat that, quote, 70% of lottery winners go broke within a few years. That stat, by the way, completely shot down by the group it supposedly came from. So, if that's the case, what makes someone fall into that lottery to broke pipeline versus thriving with millions in the bank? What is it about winning the lottery that potentially curses you for life? And are there any lessons that we can learn as non-lottery winners when it comes to improving our relationship with money? Let's talk about it. By the way, if you are new here, I'm Cara and I make video essays on the intersection of money, media, and intentional living. Check out my whole video essay playlist, which features videos like Celebrities Have a Money Problem, a video I think you'll really like if you enjoy this one. And don't forget to subscribe to keep up with new videos. So returning to Michael Carroll, let's use him as a starting point to investigate what sets someone on to the lottery winner to broke pipeline. A little more about Michael. Like we said, he was only 19 years old when he won about $15 million, or 10 million pounds since he's a Brit. I don't know about you guys, but I cannot imagine having that much money at 19 years old. Like, just imagine having millions of dollars to spend on whatever you were into as a teenager. For me, it was probably Connor Franta and Marvel superhero merch, mixed in with a bit of those kooky leggings that were all the rage back then. Bottom line is that responsible financial management probably was not going to be front of mind for me at 19 years old. And even if it was, I wouldn't have known where to start. For Michael, it seemed like the same thing. According to various reports, Michael didn't even have a bank account when he won the lottery. And once he did have a bank account to store all of that money, well, it quickly started paying for crazy parties, drugs, hookers, expensive cars. Michael himself admits at one point he was spending thousands on cocaine every day. I must say that Michael and I really lived very different teenage lives, but we all have our hobbies, I guess. Anyways, the decade-long spending spree left Michael completely broke, forcing him to return to his pre-lottery career as a garbage man. So was there something about Michael and his situation that made him more likely to fall into that lottery to broke pipeline? For one, impulsivity is a huge contributor. Now, we can all be impulsive at times, but according to the Oxford Handbook on Impulsive Control Disorders, although environmental factors play a considerable role in impulsive behavior, a body of evidence collected in twin studies suggests that about 45% of the variance in impulsivity is accounted for by genetic factors. In other words, some people are just naturally more impulsive, and that's made even worse when you take someone who is only 19 years old. You know those memes about how things start making a whole lot more sense once you're 25 years old and your frontal lobe has fully developed? Yeah, they're not completely wrong on that one. I know for me, a lot of pre-25-year-old Cara choices are cringeworthy, even if they didn't involve hookers. And there's biology to back up that cringy, misguided decision-making. It's generally true that our brains don't fully mature until about 25 years old, which affects our ability to resist impulses. If anything, the teen years are arguably the worst time to suddenly fall into enormous wealth. Because as this paper on adolescent risk-taking explains, quote, one form of impulsivity, sensation-seeking, rises dramatically during adolescence. Beyond lottery winners, we also see this in celebrities who become rich at a young age. They're handed millions of dollars on top of huge public attention and massive responsibilities from others who financially rely on them. Add in an immature brain, and it's honestly a shock that any child star turns out okay. Side note, I want to make a video about the economics of child stars, but I can't figure out what the title and packaging of the video is going to be, so if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments below. But anyways, the reason impulse control is such a critical factor for lottery winners is because money is primarily about your emotional relationship with it. It almost doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank, because if your emotional regulation techniques aren't nailed down, that money can easily slip right through your fingers. The moment you feel an emotional trigger, be it loneliness, confusion, arousal, or sadness, your brain is going to want to address that feeling. A lot of times we use our phones for this, turning to things like TikTok to numb whatever feeling we're experiencing, sometimes we might turn to buying cheap stuff online to distract ourselves. But if you have millions in the bank, you might suddenly feel like you can spend away all of those feelings. And that leads you to impulsively buy expensive things, the way that Michael impulsively bought his cars and drugs. Or the way lottery winner Jim Bud Post bought a twin-engine plane he didn't even know how to fly. Or how lottery winner Evelyn Adams gambled away her $5.4 million winnings in Atlantic City. Without impulse control, it's easy to completely clean yourself out of all of your riches. But, sometimes cleaning is exactly what you want to do, and sometimes you want to do it in an eco-friendly, sustainable way, which is exactly what today's sponsor, Blueland, lets you do. That is right, my friends, you have found yourself in a nifty sponsorship transition right now. But really, let's talk about how amazing Blueland is, because I use their products every time I clean, and I'm always telling my friends and family to check them out because I think their products are fantastic. See, Blueland sells eco-friendly cleaning products for your hands, your dishwasher, your laundry machine, and your toilet, and all of their products are made with no harmful ingredients, they're vegan, and they're hypoallergenic. And my favorite part about Blueland is that they don't use any single-use plastic, not in their bottles, their tablets, their wrappers, or their shipping. Blueland's packaging is fully compostable, and when you order from them, you get this metal container that you can keep using forever. So when you run out of products, you simply buy a Blueland refill. That way you're not buying a new container every time that's going to waste. I genuinely love Blueland's cleaning products. I've been using their laundry and dishwasher tablets all year long, and I just started using their hand soap and toilet cleaners too. And I love supporting a company that is so focused on sustainability. So if you'd like to try a more sustainable way of cleaning, you can get your first purchase from Blueland for 15% off using my link blueland.com/Cara Nicole. That's blueland.com/Cara Nicole for 15% off your first purchase. Please go check them out, show them some love, and thank you so much to Blueland for sponsoring today's video. So recap, we know impulse control, age, and our ability to handle emotions can affect how likely someone will fall down the lottery to broke pipeline. But what else makes for a bad lottery candidate? The other two qualities I'd say include a bad support network like family and friends, and financial illiteracy. It is the foundational stuff that helps you navigate the already difficult world of money, made even harder when you suddenly have a huge influx of it. You have to be able to rely on the people around you without worrying if they're gonna put a hit out on your life. I know that sounds dramatic, but that actually happened to the lottery winner I mentioned earlier, William Bud Post. His brother tried to get him killed so he could claim the inheritance himself. The thing I don't think we always internalize is that money just amplifies whatever qualities or dynamics we already have. For example, if you're a really generous person, as a lottery winner, you might give too much away. And trust me, if people know that you have the money, there will be tons of folks, from friends and families to acquaintances you haven't seen in years to total strangers, who are going to want a slice of your new pie. Or if you're generally quite trusting, maybe even naive, with more money you might just be a bigger target for scams, which is exactly how some lottery winners lose their riches. You might even fall for a pig butchering scam, a type of financial scam that I covered in a recent video. Or say you have an addictive personality. With more money comes more funds to fuel your addiction. Many of the lottery to broke pipeline people have lost their fortunes this exact way. Alcohol, drugs, gambling, vices don't just go away when you have millions. And the same thing goes for being status driven. If you were status driven and wanting people to think you're rich before winning the lottery, there is a very good chance you're still going to be that way after. But now people might know that you have wealth and that you have the means to flex it further. That can lead you down a path of performative wealth, of constantly proving to yourself and others that you in fact do have millions, which leads us to one of the main aspects of the lottery curse. So what is it about winning the lottery that potentially curses you for life? One is that everyone knows, and as much as financial transparency can be nice, you don't always want people to know. This is actually a huge piece of advice given to potential lottery winners, and that's if you're able to, stay anonymous. Now, not every state in the US lets you do this. Some force you to claim the prize publicly, but if you're able to, staying anonymous can be hugely beneficial. Because without anonymity, you have a target on your back. You'll have people coming to you asking for money or getting angry at you for not giving them as much money as they want. And once you're known as rich, you might find yourself trying to live up to the narrative of what rich means in your head. Fancy cars, multiple mansions, private jets. I've covered some of those trappings of wealth in videos like my Fake Rich Flexing series, and one thing we know that can happen when trying to keep up with the Joneses is something known as the hedonic treadmill. The hedonic treadmill is this idea that we just get used to things after a while, no matter how great they are. Remember in that SpongeBob episode when Squidward got to live in a neighborhood of other Squidwards? And at first, he loved it. He was having a blast with all of his favorite things every day. But over time, he got used to it, eventually coming to resent what had been his perfect day. The same thing can happen with money, especially a sudden huge influx of money that can make you feel invincible. At first, you might be having a blast buying big toys, going on expensive getaways, treating yourself to all the finest things, but on top of building bad financial habits for yourself, you might also get used to those indulgences. And I know that sounds crazy, and you might be thinking, there's no way that being rich would ever get old to me, but it's not so much about being rich getting old. It's that high from spending recklessly or excessive materialism may eventually run out. The hedonic treadmill might simply kick in and make you a bored Squidward. All that combined, the lack of anonymity, the hedonic treadmill, the psychology of sudden wealth, make up the lottery curse that can leave you broke and miserable. So realistically, most of us watching right now are not going to win the lottery. I'm sorry to break the news. But I'd wager all of us will make money at some point in our lives and are interested in how we can use our money to live our best lives. With that in mind, is there anything that we can learn and apply to our own lives from the lottery to broke pipeline? I say absolutely, with the biggest lesson being that fundamentals are everything. What I mean by that is that if you don't know how to manage $100, there's no way you're gonna know how to manage $1 million. You don't suddenly download financial literacy, good spending habits, and impulse control the moment a paycheck or lottery prize hits your bank account. Those kinds of fundamentals are learned and honed over time, and it is never too early to start. Even if you are just making babysitting money in high school, start nailing down your financial habits as soon as possible, because once you start making the big bucks and get older, your future self will thank you. The other big takeaway is that you can always find something else to spend money on. A custom theme song to wake up to every morning? 100% you could buy that. A small pony that brings you bottled water? If you throw enough money at it, I'm sure it could be all yours too. Going back to the hedonic treadmill concept, it's easy to feel like you never have enough. Whether it's because you might not be practicing gratitude, something that can help fend off the hedonic treadmill, or because you're falling into the comparison trap. Just look at someone like Nicolas Cage, who I also featured in my Celebrities Have a Money Problem video. Dude bought multiple castles. Not just one castle. No, only poor people have one castle apparently, but multiple. And an island, plus a dinosaur skull and a pet octopus. Perfect example of you can always find something else to buy, something else to desire, and for Cage, that led him to lose most of his fortune, similar to the story of many lottery winners. I mentioned this earlier in the video, but honestly, the toys just get bigger as you have more money to your name. And that is why being able to find satisfaction beyond spending and flexing and indulging is so crucial. Because even though you probably won't win the lottery, most likely you're gonna have some money coming your way. So best be prepared, and hey, you never know. Maybe one day the lottery will come knocking at your door. But what do you think? Have you found yourself falling for any of these lottery to broke pipeline traps, even if you haven't won the lottery? Is there anything that I missed? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you to my patrons on Patreon for supporting this channel, and those on Buy Me a Coffee. And of course, thank you guys for watching and getting this far. I will see you next time. Bye.